I approached a huge iron gate, pressed the doorbell button, and a gruff voice came out of a small box. "State your name and the purpose of your visit." "Kelly Bullock. I'm here to be interviewed for a maid position." The huge gate slowly began to open. I entered the grounds of the estate. It was enormous. I noticed a lovely park and even a lake. It looked like one of the Disney princesses lived here. It took me another 20 minutes to get to the main house, which, by the way, looked more like a castle. I knocked, but no one opened the door. Without waiting for an answer, I pushed the door open and entered the house. The owner was slowly coming down a gorgeous staircase. She looked me over from head to toe. "Kelly?" The look on her face didn't promise anything good. "Yes," I nodded. "Follow me. My husband is waiting." We went upstairs. In the office, behind the solid mahogany desk, was Mr. Adams. He opened my resume.
"So, do you have any experience as a maid?"
"Yes, I've done part-time jobs as a nanny and a maid, but in smaller houses."
"And why did you move to this town?"
"I started college and decided to get a summer job."
"That's commendable."
Mrs. Adams interrupted our conversation. "The form says you're 18, but you look 30. To tell the truth, I was offended by her words.
"It doesn't matter,"
the man intervened. Then Mrs. Adams handed me some papers and a map of the house. "Here you will find all your duties and the room where you will live."
"As soon as you change your clothes, you can get to work,"
Mr. Adams added. I nodded and hurried out of the office and found myself in a huge corridor. I followed the map as I looked for my room, but very soon I realized that I was lost. Suddenly, I heard a man's voice.
"Are you lost? Let me show you the way."
It was a handsome, cheerful young man. I would appreciate it.
"I'm Stephen, the son of the owners of the house."
I was very surprised, but I tried not to show it. "I'm Kelly, your new maid." On my way to the room, I noticed a little old door. I wondered where it went, so I asked the friendly young man. "What's in there?" I pointed to the door.
"Oh, that's where we keep our family heirlooms, but you can't go in there."
Stephen walked me right to the door of my room. I dropped off my suitcase and put on my uniform, and then I got straight to work. All day long, I did laundry and ironed things. I mopped the house and vacuumed the carpets. Sometimes out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Mrs. Adams. The woman clearly didn't trust me and made sure I carried out all my duties. When Mrs. Adams realized that I had noticed her, she would come up to me, tell me I needed to do a better job, and leave. It wasn't an easy job. In the evening, I returned to my room and collapsed on my bed. Suddenly, a gentle knock on the door disturbed my peace. "Come in," I said. The door opened, and I saw Stephen.
"Would you like to go for a walk?"
I'm so tired."
"Not very far. I'll show you the lake."
My legs were certainly buzzing, but I said yes. Stephen brought me to the lake, which looked even more beautiful in the evening than it did during the day. We sat down on a bench. The guy was pointing at the stars and talking a lot about them. Then suddenly, slowly, he turned to me, closed his eyes, and puckered his lips at me. I tensed up and muttered, "It's late. I want to go to bed."
"Oh, yes, of course."
Stephen hesitated a little but added,
"You know, you do look older than your age."
"Genes, that's it. I didn't get very lucky." I shrugged and took his hand. Stephen smiled at me. He walked me to my room again, graciously. Back in the room, I pulled out my laptop and opened a folder with information on the Adams family. I had compiled a file on them before I took the job. This family got rich extraordinarily fast, and that was very suspicious. I thoroughly looked over the information one more time. I was particularly interested in Stephen. I didn't know much about him. Handsome, muscular. However, his character was impulsive, and his intellect was not outstanding. All in all, Stephen was a stupid, good-looking guy. Perhaps he was the weakest link in this family. Reading for so long wore me out. Sleep took over, and I fell asleep. In the afternoon, while cleaning outside Mr. Adams' office, I overheard a curious conversation. "I don't trust her," declared Mrs. Adams.
"She's just an ordinary student who wants a part-time job. Exactly what we were looking for,"
her husband replied. A student? She looks 30 years old, and she's always sneaking around the house. Mrs. Adams obviously suspected something, so I had to be careful. What if she goes into the attic? The woman exclaimed. She's just a maid. Calm down. I smirked when I heard that and hurried away to avoid attracting attention. After work, I locked myself in my room again. I decided it was time to go to sleep, but woke up a few hours later. I opened the door cautiously and made sure all the lights were off, turned on the flashlight on my phone, and went out into the hallway. I had gotten to know the house pretty well, so it was easy to find the door to the attic. What are you hiding behind that door? I pulled the handle, but the door was locked. I tried it again, but it was at that moment that the light suddenly came on. Stephen was standing in the hallway. "What are you doing here?" he asked me sternly. I tried to play dumb. "See, I wanted to get a drink of water, but I got lost." "You're lying," shouted the guy. I had to think of something quick, otherwise he would have figured me out. I said guiltily, "I lied. I was actually looking for your room." I moved closer to the guy and put both his hands in mine. "My room?" "Yes, I wanted to apologize for my behavior." I closed my eyes and then I pressed my lips into Stephen's. We kissed for a long time. "Oh, it's so late. I have to get up so early tomorrow," I said, pulling away. Stephen, blushing, volunteered to walk me to my room. I was called into the office in the morning. I thought it was about yesterday, but the Adams family said they were leaving and wouldn't be back until this evening. Until then, I'll be at the estate alone. I went on with my duties as if nothing had happened. But when I heard the owner's car start up and drive away, I ran to the window to make sure no one was in my way. Great, now I'm home alone. Without wasting a second, I ran to the attic door, tried the door, and it was still locked. I took the key out of my pocket. I had stolen it from an unsuspecting Stephen. It was yesterday while we were kissing. What an idiot. He was so carried away he didn't feel a thing. I put the key in the keyhole and it fit perfectly. I pulled the door and, oh my God, it opened. There were no lights on the stairs, so I switched my phone flashlight back on and started walking up the stairs blindly. Finally, I was in a dark room. With the help of the flashlight, I managed to find the circuit breaker. A moment later, the light came on in the room. I looked around, and what I saw shocked me. This enormous room was packed with counterfeit banknote printers. Cash was stuffed into bags and piled in a corner. I picked up a $100 bill and examined it carefully. The quality of the counterfeit was extraordinary. The same paper structure, the same watermarks. So that's how the Adams had managed to get rich so fast. I took out my phone and began to take pictures. Suddenly, someone behind me clapped languidly. I looked around and saw the whole family of forgers. Stephen was the first one to speak. "Did you think I'd fall for your cheap trick?" "You think I enjoyed kissing you?" I replied. "Shut up!" shouted Mrs. Adams. "I told you this girl was up to something. I knew right away she looked like she was in her 30s. Actually, I'm 25 and an FBI agent. We've been watching you for a long time. My assignment was to infiltrate your house. You're looking at up to 20 years in prison." "Get her!" commanded Mr. Adams. In one leap, Stephen was beside me. Before he could grab me, I managed to give him a good slap. The guy lost his balance for a moment. Then Mr. Adams grabbed me and sat me down in a chair. I would have fought harder if I hadn't used up all my strength on cleaning the house. Stephen took the rope and tied me to the chair, while his father held me down. "You stay here while we escape," Stephen said. The head of the family pointed to the bags in the corner. Each of the family members grabbed a couple of bags and then they ran off, leaving me alone. I pulled the ropes, trying to get out, but Stephen had me firmly tied to a chair. Suddenly, my colleague John was in the room. He was wearing a bulletproof vest with the letters FBI. "Thank God, John! What took you so long?" "I was on duty, and then I saw the targets whizzing by in the car at breakneck speed." John untangled the ropes. We ran out of the house and got in the car. My partner looked at me and chuckled. "You know, this outfit looks good on you." "Oh, shut up and drive," I snapped irritably as I took off my stupid maid's apron. Our car pulled out onto the highway. I picked up the radio. "Suspects in black Bentley heading northwest. License plate." The radio hissed back. The FBI officer called out the coordinates where the Adams were spotted. John put his foot on the gas pedal. A few minutes later, we already saw a black Bentley. Counterfeit bills were flying from its open trunk right onto the road. John pulled up alongside the car, tried to pin it to the side of the road, but the Adams weren't about to give up. Stephen climbed out of the sunroof of the car. He was holding a bag of money in his hands. The guy took a swing and threw the bag right through the windshield of our car. John couldn't see the road and was driving blind. I turned on the windshield wipers and the money on the windshield went flying around. And now we could see where we were going again. "Stop playing with them," I yelled. Then my partner sharply turned the steering wheel to the left and hit the crook's car. The driver of the Bentley lost control, the car spun several times, and then it stopped. The doors opened, and the bandits tried to get away, but patrol officers came to our aid. They surrounded the suspect's vehicle. That's when the Adams stopped, got out, and put their hands above their heads. Officers grabbed Mr. and Mrs. Adams. They were led past me. The criminals gave me a hatred look. "We'll get you," they said together. Then police officers grabbed Stephen. As the guy passed me, he said, "How about giving me a kiss goodbye?" He put his lips out, and I looked at him in disgust. "Take this jerk away." "Did you kiss that fool?" John asked with a sneer. "Yeah, and I'll get a promotion for it," I winked back. "Sure, if you collect the evidence that's scattered all over the road." I looked at the highway. A bunch of cars already stopped on the road, and the drivers were shoving fake money into their pockets like crazy. "It's fake!" I shouted. But people went crazy seeing all this cash and didn't pay any attention. Well, it looked like I had a lot of work to do. The Adams case was closed. I had to pretend to be a maid and clean their huge mansion all day long to expose the crooks and their dirty deeds. But what can I do? That's my job. The job of an FBI agent. What did you have to do to get the job done? Maybe you even feel ashamed of some things, like I do? Be sure to share your story in the comments. Like this video and subscribe to the channel.